Let's talk about a mental math trick where we multiply 25 times 28 quickly. So we take the ones digit, which is 8, and add it to the other number. So 8 plus 25 is 33. Or we could take the 5 and add it to 28 and we get 33. Anyway, you take that 33, you times it by 2, and it equals 66. Then 66 times 10 is equal to 660. Then you multiply the two unit digits, 5 and 8. That's equal to 40. And then you add the two results together. You get 660 plus 40 is equal to 700. 24 times 27. Okay, let's just take this 4 and add it to the 27. Or we could take the 7 and add it to 24. In either case, we get 31. And then we should multiply 2 by 2. So let's multiply that by 2. That's going to be equal to 62. And then take that 62 and times it by 10. Okay, that's 620. Now, as a separate step, we'll take the last digit here, 4, and the last digit 7, and multiply those two. 4 times 7, that's equal to 28. And then we just add these two results together. 620 plus 28 is equal to 648. So 24 times 27 is equal to 648. Well, that's pretty cool. But we're going to have to revise the rule a little bit because it's not just the ones digit multiplied by each other, but actually the difference between the number and 20. So let's try a different example where we can illustrate this. Let's use the number 19. That's a number that's close to 20, but it actually is just one less than 20. So we're thinking of -1 here. We're going to multiply that by 26, and 26 is actually 6 more than 20. So we're looking at numbers that are close to 20 here. So if we take this -1 and add it to 26, we're going to get 25. In the same way, if we take this 26 and add a -1, that would also equal 25. So let's double this. So 25 doubled is equal to 50. And then take that 50 and multiply it by 10. So we have 50 times 10, that's equal to 500. All right, now as a separate step, we're going to take the difference that the number is away from 20 and multiply it by the difference that the other number is away from 20. So 6 times -1, that's equal to, well, let's just, -1 times 6, that's equal to -6. So when you take the sum of these two numbers, 500 plus a -6, that equals 494. And of course, if we check this on the calculator, it actually is 494. Of course, this looks like some kind of math magic here. All we're doing is taking like this how the difference away from 20 and then just somehow adding it to another number and then taking that number and multiplying by 20 and then just taking the two numbers and multiplying together. How is this working? Well, let's see if we can use algebra to help explain what's going on. So let's take a look at this number. So the first number is going to be some number that's close to 20. Now, in fact, we can say that that first number is 20 plus x. Of course, x could be positive or x could be negative, but this is the first number. And then we're multiplying it by this other number. This is 20 plus a different number. Now, it could be the same, of course, but let's say it's different. Now, remember the x and y in this case can either be positive or negative. Okay, so let's take a look at what this is. This is a binomial multiplied by a binomial. And we know how to multiply binomials. We can take the first one, we use the distributive law here, and 20 is times everything. So it's going to be 20 times 20. And then there's going to be a 20 times y. And here, distribute the x through is going to have 20 times x. And then also there's going to be an x times a y. And you might start to see it. This x and y is really the difference between the numbers and 20, and those are going to be multiplied together, and we're going to be adding them in the end. So that last step of adding those, the last digit or the difference away from 20 seems to make sense. Okay, so what do we have here? We have 20 times, well, this is 400, right? This 20 times 20 is 400, and then we plus 20, and we can actually factor this a little bit, right? We can say 20 times y plus x. And then, of course, we have the last part here. This is plus xy. Now, of course, this y plus x is the same thing as x plus y because addition is commutative. So what we can think about then is we can say, well, what if we had this 400 and factor this whole thing? So there's a 20 in both of these. We can say 20 times 20. I guess we're going back to this one. But 20 times 20. And there's also a 20 times this I'm going to just replace it with x plus y here, and then have the x and y on the end. Okay, so if we take a look at this value, the first two terms here, we have a common factor of 20, which we can factor out. So this is 20 times, and then we have 20 plus your x plus y, and then we have our xy. Well, what we notice is that this 20 plus x plus y really is, this 20 plus x is like the first number. Or you could say 20 plus y and then plus x. So here we have this first number, and then we have our plus y. And then what are we doing with it? We're going to double it, and then we're also going to multiply it by 10. And then we have our addition of our xy in the end. So this seems to prove our method of how to do this. What we're going to do is just take the difference away from 20 from one of the numbers and add it to the other number. And then we're going to multiply by 2, doubling it. Then we're going to multiply by 10. And then afterwards, we're going to take the difference away from 20 of each of the numbers, find the product of those, which is multiply them together, and then add it to the result that we had. Okay, so let's recap. So let's try this with another number. We'll say 23 times, 25. So again, we have, this is plus 3 away from 20. This is plus 5 away from 20. And so what we're going to do is just take that 3 and add it to the other one. So this is 28. Once we have that 28, we're going to double it. So that's equal to 56. Then we're going to multiply by 10. So that is 56 times 10 is equal to 560. And then we have to just take these difference away from 20 and multiply those two together. So the product of 3 and 5 is equal to 15. Let me just write that out here. And then we have this is equal to 575. So quickly in our mind, we can say, well, 23 times 25 is equal to 575. Just so you know that I'm not trying to deceive you, let's use numbers that are underneath 20. We'll say we'll try a number like 19, and we'll multiply it by 18. So how close is 19 to 20? Well, this is just 1 under, so that's a -1. And 18 is 2 underneath 20. So we're using the difference away from 20. So for the number 19, the difference away from 20 is -1. For the number 18, the difference away from 20 is -2. So if we take 18 minus 1, that's 17. And again, if you did it the other way, -2 plus 19 is also 17. So let's just double that. So 17 times 2 is equal to 34. We take that 34 and multiply by 10, and we get 340. And then separately, we're going to take -1 and -2, the difference away from 20s of each of the numbers. Take the product of those, -1 times -2. That's equal to +2. And then we just take the sum of 340 and 2. This is equal to 342. So 19 times 18 is 342. Let's just check that on the calculator just to make sure that we have it. And we say, okay, so 19 times 18. And of course, you could use a calculator if you have one handy, but sometimes it's very useful to have these mental math strategies to do things quickly. Okay, so that is a math trick revealed and proven by algebra. Best of luck in your studies, and I'll see you in class.